Looks like we're missing a chair. Yes, I am remote. I am a chair, that's true. I wasn't expecting to run this completely remote. All right. Since I don't see Sean, and we're 5 minutes past, I guess we just get started and I try to do this remote. Which I wasn't prepared to, but let's make the best out of it. Welcome to WISH working group meeting for IETF 118. Starting with the chair slides. Note well, hopefully everyone has seen it, is familiar with it. If you need to speak to the ombuds team, there's a link how to contact them if anyone is like mistreating you. What else? Note really well. Anti-harassment policies, so please be kind and respectful. Yeah, I think that's what this comes down to. Meeting tips. Oh yeah, we have lots of tools. If you're on site, use the on-site tool. If you're remote, use the camera icon. Hopefully all the slides should be uploaded. At least I see the chair slides and I see Sergio's slides. And agenda. Just went over the blue sheets is completely remotely now. Or online, not remotely, sorry. So first we're going to talk, Sergio is going to talk, give us an update on the WISH ingest signaling draft. I don't know, Sergio, if you managed to, I think we're just going to talk about what's the current status of web. I think you indicated that. Oh, good point, Murray. Thank you. Yes, charter. At the last IETF, we brought up the topic of the charter, rechartering this working group so that we can actually work on the egress protocol. And the conclusion was that people want to work on the egress part. So we have like one draft, which was proposed for a long time. And so we declared rough consensus, and we're just going to go ahead with that proposal, which is pretty broad. So hopefully we can all agree to stay focused when we start working on the egress part. The missing part for rechartering is the timeline for when, like the milestones, what the working group is going to deliver when. So that should probably be part of the conversation when we talk about web. And then there is Dapeng, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, who is also going to present us a draft about the WISP interactive signaling protocol. Any agenda bashing? Nope. Okay, that's good. So then let's change deck here. Okay. There we go. Hi, Sergio.
Hi, hello. I don't have slides for this, so this is the presentation that Liu was going to do after the whip and web draft. So,
oh, sorry, that's the wrong slides. Yeah, okay,
no,
sorry.
No.
Let me take that down.
So, I had a bad start in September after getting back from holiday. So, I have been having hard time to finding time to work on the feedback review by the different doctorate reviews. But I have been doing during the last week and this one, and the work is still ongoing. I have done some. I completed the review of, or I incorporated the feedback that was provided by some of the groups, and all the other items are open in GitHub for the pending ones. So I'm not sure if you can share the GitHub issues so far.
See, that's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
I was prepared for that, really.
No.
Let's see. GitHub. But in
the chat, so.
Okay. I think I got it. Now it's only about sharing. Ugh. Okay. Now we have a problem because I have not. Because I've never shared my screen from Chrome before on Mac.
Give me a second. Apologies.
Okay, let's wait for Sean.
I
think that's hopefully going to be easier if you can open GitHub. With the...
there.
Otherwise, I would have to restart here.
I got it. Come on. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to do. No, that's not the right one. This one. Allow. Apologies. All right, where do you want me to go?
To the WIP ingest protocol.
All righty.
So if you go to the issues.
Okay.
I mean, I have. It's quite a long list. So I think that I have been able to. I think that there was like 44 issues plus one big PR that it is pending. I've been able to close like it was like 19 or 20 of them, and these are the ones that are pending. Most of them are reviewing the text and just incorporated the feedback if they made sense, but there are some other ones that are a bit more that will require more interaction, because, for example, the IETF usage one that is more about it's not only editorial or issues, it is more about what should be in the spec or not, because I have been, I mean, it's hard when, I mean, there has been, the reviews has been quite intense, and I had got feedback in different directions sometimes. So, for example, I have seen people reviewing comments that or text that when it is in their it is not in their expertise area, asking for more clarifications and more tests explaining things. But when the test is on their expertise, in their mere expertise area, asking why are you explaining this? This is already explaining this other RFC. So it is hard to to have both feedbacks addressed at the same time, and deciding what is.
Sergio, do you have a rough idea which ones of the are more challenging? So probably the ones which where make more sense if we talk about it now.
I think that probably the IETF usage is the one that it is going to be more complex.
At the bottom of your screen, Sean.
Yeah, it's
That one?
no,
sorry, now you scrolled. It used to be on the bottom.
It was going to be.
Now it's at the top.
Yeah, the 141. Yeah,
Okay.
this one. I think that this was.
Yep. So my general feeling about this, if we get comments from two directorates that conflict, we put the two ADs in charge of those directorates and say, well, what do you want us to do? You can obviously be proactive if you think one way or the other and side with one. But if we have a direct conflict, we can get other people to help mediate that dispute.
It's not typically on the same text, but I mean, as for example, this I have been receiving comments about, for example, people are not used to ICE, so it's requiring to add more tests about explaining how to use ICE and things like that. But also, on the same time, I've received feedback from the HTTP saying, why are we explaining how to use the tags when it is already explaining in the HTTP documents? So it is kind of just the general the general idea what should be in the document versus what should not be in. So I think that I'm going to try to, or at least that's what I also answered to the, I think that was to the general review, that is that I will try to add clarifications based on the target audience of this specification. So probably if our goal is to have more WebRTC usage in streaming, probably what we want to have is or we require some WebRTC knowledge as a prerequisite of reading the document, so we don't explain or in extents, for example, how WebRTC works in detail, and all some of things are we can be less concise. And I would like, I'm not sure exactly how to track this specific issue, because yes, IETF is specified in the HTTP documents, but I feel that if we don't explain how to use it in the spec, I don't think that the target audience of this document will get it right. I mean, because I'm not sure if I will get it right just by reading the HTTP specs. So it is a problem of myself, because HTTP is not my main area of expertise. But I feel that even if we are redundant and obviously trying to not be conflicting with the current specification, but I think that it will be important to still be verbose about what do we want implementation to do, even if it is already specified in someone else.
So Sergio, I think when we get comments from a directorate, we're perfectly, we don't have to do everything they say. We can obviously push back. So if you have a strong feeling about how this is, we'll leave it in and see if they're, if that must stay or not.
No, I think that this is,
Anyway.
I think that this is the only, probably the one that I could have some hard time finding the best answer for this. The other ones are mostly editorial, and I mean it requires a lot of time, but it is fine trying to find the best wording, but it does not change much the spirit of the it doesn't change much the draft or what it needs to do, but this one is a bit more is more complicated to be fulfilled.
And just in general, like my thoughts on, like, I think we should basically reference to other RFCs wherever applicable. I mean, maybe not with explicitly telling people like, hey, go read this RFC first before continuing reading. We should probably avoid trying to explain ETEX or ICE or any of that stuff, because if we duplicate that kind of language, then it's only going to cause us problems.
Yep.
But if we add more language saying specifically like how to use patch and like if this happens, then you need to do this or that as a guidance for implementers, I think that makes perfect sense to me.
So this is again, this is I don't expect to have it an answer right now, because also for this issue. So, but this is I think that it is the only one that probably is going to cause issues. I have another question about a different one that was raised.
Is it on this one, Julius?
No, it's in.
Yeah, but Julius has a question.
So Julius Krobacek, so I've updated recently my implementation of WIP the server side to fit the latest version of the draft. And it was really easy sailing, all went well, everything was clear, except for one part, which I did struggle with, and finally I gave up because it was done in my copious free time, and that was the ICE restart part. So I know that the ADs are annoying. ADs are annoying, it's their job. And but in this particular case, I would be very grateful. I think a lot of implementers would be grateful if you could take the time to rework and to try to clarify a little bit the part about ICE restarts. I'm convinced, I trust you, I'm sure it's complete, it's just us being stupid, but if you can deal with us stupid people and help us a little bit with this part, that will be very appreciated.
Yeah, this is probably the word that is going to require most rewriting, and I will try to get a new version soon.
Okay, which is the next one?
Yeah, if you go back, is the 151.
151.
So this is the only one is that. I mean, that is review from Jenard saying that in section 4.2 we are extending the SDP RFC, so we should mark the document that about extending the RFC. So I don't know first if we need to do it, and second, if we need to do it, how to do it.
So if we are updating what's in RFC 8442, then we probably need to add a header field to the document, like the structure, right, and put updates 8442. And then somewhere in the intro, you can say which section is being updated and by what section in this document. And that's usually sufficient to get through the ISG.
What we are changing, the part that this section is referring to is when we allow the web clients to send a set of active attribute instead of add pass, as it is mandated by the RFC 8842. That we can either decide to keep it and update and decide if we need to extend the the RFC 8842, or just remove it completely to avoid having this complication?
No, I mean, I personally would say like we should say that like I mean, basically that we're updating 8842, and then as Sean was just saying, like put a sentence somewhere saying that we make it more strict because we're not dealing with backwards compatibility, which 8842 was intended to be dealing with. That's why they have this active passive in there to accommodate both scenarios, which is relevant to us, I think. So I think that should be the easier path forward from my perspective.
Okay, so but when submitting the draft, I don't need to mark it anywhere. So it's just text in the RFC.
You need to put it at the in the headers basically, which RCs this document is updating. Which is, I mean, we're not like essentially updating it in the sense of like a new version. It's only for the specific use case of Wish. But I think still, since we're like changing the default, I think that's probably the right thing to
But
do here.
do you know if I need to add any markdown header or something like that?
Yeah,
So,
we can figure that. Yeah, we can figure that out.
Yeah.
If you get the text to put in the document, I can make sure the markdown is correct.
Okay, that would be all that's needed.
Just if you just tag me in the PR, I can make sure to add it in.
Regarding help with or help and next steps, I have one PR that it is the you go to the pull request that it is huge. I mean, it has a lot of minor changes to the editorial changes, but I'm not sure if I don't think that it changed anything. But it would be great if it could be reviewed, not online right now, but today or tomorrow, so I can merge it and start adding the new all the and start completing all the other issues on top of this. And what I think when all these issues are completed, I think that what we should do is call for another working group last call. I mean, at least that's what I have done on other drafts that has so many changes, so we can make a final review of everything again before sending it back to another ISG review.
I think that's probably fair with the number of issues and pull requests there. We can shorten it or not. It's up to us. I would probably just go with 2 weeks because I don't know that there's a burning. We're heading into the holiday season, so I think like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks isn't really gonna, like, the world's not gonna end, right? So I'm hoping we can get someone that will offer to review this pull request in the next day or two.
I was about to say, like, I will definitely review it within before the end of the week.
Okay.
Yeah,
that'd be great. Because then it would be good if we could start landing all of these, closing off all the issues, and then at the end of all that, do another working group last call. That makes sense. It makes it easier for us and the ADs as well.
Yeah. So I hope that with all the changes, I will be able to pass the pending reviews, but it will take still a bit of time until I have the final version. Hopefully not 3 months, as it has taken me to get to this stage, but hopefully in 1 week or something like that, I will be able to have the final version.
Okay, great. So I guess we'll jump back into the agenda. How far did we get? Did we go over the working group charter changes that we were waiting on?
I did. I mean, I went briefly over it during the agenda slides, basically.
Okay, so I guess the only thing that I just want to make sure we did is that we actually got dates for the WEP submission to the ISG, where we'll think we'll be through working group last call.
I suggested covering that when we talk about WEP, basically.
Okay, all right, cool. We can do that. All right, let me stop sharing this. All right, did you send WEP slides?
No. I have been focused in trying to fix all the issues.
So I think
I have time for slides.
So if we don't have WEP slides, that's okay. There's a link to the draft in there. I think really the important part is apparently the ISG, you have to give them a list of deliverables that you're going to provide, and they want to know when. And so I kind of asked Sergio behind the scenes, and I want to see what the working group thinks about this, is that we'd be shooting to basically be done with that document by the end of 2024. So I'm saying December of 2024 to be done with the deliberations within the working group and through working group last call. And then we would give it to whoever our area director is at the time for IETF last call. Does that sound plausible?
As plausible as deadlines ever.
Well, all right. So this is, Jonathan said it's as plausible as deadlines ever are, because I think most of the time the dates in the charter are aspirational, and so if you're within a year, you're kind of good. So I think like a year is a good enough date to get in there to get us rechartered, so we can adopt the work and move on, which is the point, right? So if everybody's good with that, and I don't see anybody running to the microphone or making a longer queue, I'll make sure to put 2024 in the charter text that we have and make sure Murray gets it, and so that he can kick the process off hopefully before the end of the week to get the recharter process started officially, because we have the right text. That was just the one thing we're waiting on. So, all right. If did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about with WEP? If you've been focused mostly on WIP, then it seems.
Yeah, well, with WEP, what I think that what I need to do is update a new version of the draft just to have a new date and to avoid to have it expired. And then we have the recharter, we can adopt it, and we hopefully we can discuss about it in the next IETF meeting when we have finalized WIP.
Great, because I mean, I think the plan is we're going to get rechartered. We are going to adopt the working group, that draft. We don't need to do a working group adoption call for any other draft, because no one else has showed up with another WEP draft that's going to compete with it. So we can just get going as quickly as possible, since the chairs introduced a lot of delay. So again, apologies. So, okay. So now I think we're on to our last. Yep, go ahead, Jonathan.
I mean, I strongly suspect the answer to this is yes, but Sergio, your plan is to, after you're done all the WIP edits, to transfer those over to WEP, since it was a copy of that draft.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll actually we'll transfer the repo over as well. We'll do the whole official thing, so it looks.
Yep, but Jonathan, I will do it after it is adopted, not so I think that it is better to adopt it as it is, because it can take me a bit of time to move all the changes, especially with the latest reviews. So I would prefer to first adopt it and then backport all the changes from WIP.
All right, so now we have another presentation, which is a little different. Now, I think, Depeng, you ought to be able to drive this. Are you able to change the slide?
Let me try.
Let's see. You can just say next slide and I'll hit the button. Okay?
Okay. So this proposal, we call that WebRTC HTTP Interactive Signaling Protocol. Actually, Shane, can you move to the next slide? Okay. So this presentation will have basically two parts. The first part is about the use cases. The second part is the protocol proposal. So the first part, so in this slide is interactive new webcast use cases. So here we have a broadcaster, and we have audience that receive the streaming from the broadcaster. And there is a media streaming control server, and there is a server for media streaming merging, which could be provided by third party. So in the first step is that the broadcaster ingests the media stream. So I think the working group, we already covered this, the currently the working group draft ingesting protocol under review. So I think this signaling we already defined here. And there is another use cases is that the audience, for example, there may be one audience who want to connect it with the broadcaster and want to interactive with the broadcaster. So next slide, please. Okay, so the step 2, as mentioned earlier a little bit, the audience want to interact with the broadcaster. The problem here is that all the other audience needed to see the merged stream with the broadcaster and the audience who is want to connect with the broadcaster. So that is a scenario. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so then in step 3, the media streaming control server send a signaling for stream merging. So this signaling actually is sent from the media streaming control server, then is to the real-time media communication network and to the server for media streaming merging. So next slide, please.
Oops, hold on. There you go.
Okay, thank you, Shane. So the server that used for media stream merging will actually merge the two streams from which is the broadcaster and the audience connected with the broadcaster. So the two streams will merge together to form one stream and then ingest to the real-time media communication network. Next slide, please. Okay, the step 5, number 5, that is another signaling. This one is used to indicate to let the real-time media communication network to switch the stream, switch the audience stream. Next slide, please. Okay, so then the stream will be switched from originally the stream is only the broadcaster stream. Then after this signaling, the audience will receive the merged stream. So the audience will see the picture that the video that both have the broadcaster and have the audience connected with the broadcaster. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this picture shows the signaling procedure. As I think I already covered the steps here, so I will not repeat step by step here. If you have interest, you can look the details from the draft. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, the next part actually is the signaling proposal. It's very much similar as the ingesting proposal and the e-gesting proposal in this working group. Actually, I have had an offline discussion with Sergo in September. We discussed the idea a little bit. Actually, in this draft, I have 4 signaling proposals. The last one actually is very much similar as the egressing draft, like Sergo introduced earlier. So the first one is the signaling for merging 2 streams. Basically, in this signaling, it's used for the control server to indicate there are 2 streams that need to be merged together. So we in this signaling, there have some sections that indicate the media ID and the media URL and other parameters, and then use this signaling. The media server can merge 2 streams to form one stream that used for the broadcaster and the interactive audience. Okay, the next slide, please. The second one is the signaling that used to switch the streams. For example, this is used as use cases introduced earlier. When the stream is merged, the network needed to tell the receiver, the audience, they need to switch the stream with this new merged stream. So that is the purpose of this signaling. And in this signaling, it has some parameters. For example, the source media and the destination media, and they'll have media ID and URL and other parameters. Okay, next slide, please. The next one is the grabbing signaling. This is not covered in the use cases, but it's used for some use cases, some scenarios. For example, when the network, signal is not very good, the network can, let the stream to change streaming node. So it has the parameters, for example, the media ID and the URL and other informations. And there is also error code to indicate what is the reason for this network event changing. For example, maybe there is a mobility event that caused the network quality degree, and there also have other reasons. So here is the 3 types of reasons here. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, the last one is, as I just mentioned earlier, is very much similar as Circle's egress draft. So it's basically is used to pull stream to the audience. So it has some parameters such as the media URL and other things. Okay, so that is the proposal of this draft. So is there any comments and feedback? Thank you very much.
Julius, go ahead, please.
So could you please clarify? So I have 2 questions, actually. First one is, in your examples, the media, the URLs, are those HTTP URLs or whip and web URLs or something else? What protocol do you speak on those URLs?
Okay, so this URL is in this draft is use HTTP.
So it's just an HTTP stream,
Or
or is it a whip or web stream endpoint?
Okay, so the URL is use the HTTP, but the stream, I think it can support different kind of streams, for example, WebRTC and other streams.
So how does the receiver of this message determine which protocol it's supposed to speak?
Okay, okay, that's a good point. So in the current version of the draft, I just think that the network can deal with this kind of logic. It can then, for example, it can determine what kind of streaming protocol it supports, and the client, what kind of streaming protocol the client can support. So they can choose the one that both the client and server side support to for the communication. But I think there may be other ways. For example,
I didn't understand your answer. So is there some sort of out-of-band discovery? How do you discover the protocol?
For example, the server can it's not specified in this draft, but there should be some functionality in the network, in the streaming network side, to determine which streaming protocol it should use. It's not included in this draft, but I think if it is necessary, we can considering to put that part in the signaling protocol. for example, specifying.
Okay, that answers my question. That answered my question. Thank you.
Okay.
The other question, there is one use case, perhaps I missed it, but I didn't see it. There is one use case that I'm concerned with. It's the use case where the number of streams you want to send to the audience varies. And that's a tricky one. How do you communicate to the audience the information that right now you have been receiving 2 streams, and now I want you to fetch a 3rd stream? Okay, so if you tell me that's not one of your use cases, that's fine. I'm just mentioning that that's a use case that I am concerned about.
Okay, I'm not sure whether this is the use cases that you are referring, but I want to repeat what I want to describe in this draft. So there is a scenario that there is audience wanted to interactive, for example, want to ask questions with the broadcaster.
I'm sorry.
Then
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry if I interrupt you, but that's not that I did understand. The case is the broadcaster is currently so the broadcaster is streaming their webcam, and at some point they decide to stay with the webcam, and in addition to the webcam, stream say a screen share. So the number of streams that the audience is receiving switches from 1 stream, just the webcam, to 2 streams, the webcam and the screen share. And you need to notify the audience that they need to fetch a 2nd stream. Is that something you're taking into account? I mean, no is
no. Yeah, no, this is not in this document. Yeah, but I think that is an interesting one. Okay, thank you very much for your comments.
Okay, Timothy, I wasn't sure if you wanted to if you got in and then got out. I'll get you out.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say, I think that I wanted to back up what Julius was saying. I think it would be very interesting to have like an add stream as well as a merge stream and a replace stream. It feels like a natural additional operation. And I mean, it won't always work, of course, because there may not be resources to add infinite streams. But I think it would be a useful feature to add.
That was the last slide. Okay, so I guess my question here is what we're going to do with this draft. Were you just looking to get? Were you looking to get comments? Primarily, just comments.
I think I have 2 proposals, maybe for our group for discussion. The first one is that in this full signaling proposals, the last one I think is very much like the egress draft, which Sego currently is working on, and I had an offline discussion with Sego in September, and I think if he agree and the working group agree, I can put this part into that draft and merge it together. That is one proposal for discussion in this group. And the second one is for the other part of the draft. I think I heard in this group there indeed some maybe have had some interest to working on that. I'm just wondering whether this is in the scope of the new charter, or is there any interest to extend the charter to include that? Thank you.
Sergio?
Yeah, my first question is not about the technical details of the use cases. Why do you feel that we need a standard protocol for this? Because it seems, at least until now, for WIP and Web, we have the first thing that we have tried to make is explain why we would benefit of having one standard protocol implemented in IETF versus having custom or proprietary protocols implementing over different technologies. So I think that what I would like to first understand is how do you feel that having this kind of protocol would allow things that are not currently able or to be done today, or how can it be reused about different service? Because to me it seems that it is a bit too very service specific, so not necessarily how worth is the effort of specifying something that it is interoperable if only if no one is going to interoperate it with. And the second part is for the functionalities that you feel that are not available in web. I would recommend to, before doing the putting a pull request of or anything like that in the draft, I would recommend you to highlight the features in the mailing list so we can comment it and spare you the work of having to write the document and the PRs and so before we try to get an agreement if it is interested or not.
Sorry, my network was just broken, but I think I get your point, Sergio. To answer your question, I think why we need these standards. I think first of all, this use case is is really from the real deployment scenario, and that is a very popular scenario that we are currently facing as Alibaba Cloud. And to standardize this, it will, just like the chatter mentioned, it will facilitate the interoperability between the developers and the media transmission network and the third party and the ecosystem. So that is why I think it is important. So I bring this idea to this working group. So I just want to ask everybody, because of course discussing the email list, we can do that, but I think because here is the face-to-face meeting and everybody is here, I just want to gather more feedback and to see whether there is interest to work on this.
Niels?
Yeah, just as an individual contributor, similar to what Sergio was saying, like I'm having a hard time to see why, like for me the difference between the other drafts we have, like web and wish. This is about like basically allowing people to build clients independently of the server side, like the broadcaster or whatever server they use in the background. So you can mix different client implementations with different server implementations. Whereas your draft sounds to me pretty like service specific, like some kind of whatever sports broadcaster or whatever wants to support in his client that the user can click a button or whatever and say like I want to, or like the broadcaster wants to click a button and switch over to this other camera or to this other audio stream, or wants to merge like some streams or whatever, which seems to me pretty specific to whatever that service needs. It's like I don't see why this would need to be implemented in a standardized way so that the broadcaster could use server from one vendor and the client from another vendor. I think that's my biggest problem with this proposal here. But maybe I'm just missing something here.
Okay, Niels, may I?
Yep.
Okay,
Go ahead.
to reply your comments. So actually, there is a scenario that the media server and the control server is provided by third party. It's not from the media communication network. So the media communication network could be provided by one cloud provider, for example, by in our case is Alibaba Cloud, and we work with our client to deploy their service in our cloud. So the control server sometimes is deployed by Alibaba Cloud, but the media server is deployed by our client. So then they will need interoperability for the control server, for the media server to understand what the signaling of the control server. So that is the use cases. And I do see this deployment use cases is not only for Alibaba Cloud, it's also a valid scenario for other cloud providers, both in China and in the world. So I think that is important for the industry to standardize this. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So I don't necessarily agree with Sergio and Niels. I think that there is some value to having control protocol that are vendor independent, and that it would be really good if we could have, if a broadcaster could switch providers and not change their setup, their client. The problem I see is a little bit different. I think that the reason why Sergio has been so successful with WIP, at least, is that the protocol was very clearly circumscribed. Sergio has resisted adding features, and that was possible because there was a minimal subset of features that we all agreed with. Ingress of a stream is well defined. And so here I would see a lot of value, but I think I find it difficult that we would all agree on a common set of features that a standard control protocol would provide. So either we end up with a protocol that suits nobody because the set of features is very specific, or we end up with a protocol with dozens of optional features, with all features being basically optional. And we know how that ends. So I think it is something that we need, but I would like to first see whether the working group can agree on a common set of features for such a protocol. And to be frank with you, I doubt we'll be able to agree. I don't want to be pessimistic. I don't want to discourage you, but I mean, you'll be herding cats.
Jonathan?
Yeah, sort of somewhat relatedly, Jonathan Lennox. I mean, my concern is that I don't feel like the IETF has a lot of expertise in video production. And so I don't think we have the right expertise to know what the features should be. And sort of relatedly, I guess my question is, do you have actual interest from the people who produce these things that they would want to implement these APIs, as opposed to just you would like it if they implemented these APIs? Because we don't have commitment from the people who are manufacturing these servers. Just writing a spec and saying, I wish you would implement this, is not, unfortunately, a good use of anybody's time.
Okay, so just a quick comments. I think IETF is since this is a valid use cases, from our perspective, and IETF I think is a very good open standardization organization here. We can invite the expertise here to work together to standardize this. I think because IETF is such an open SDO, it's easily to gather the industry parties to work together here.
Timothy?
Yeah, Tim Panson Pipe. So I've been dabbling in the kind of blur into broadcast. I think we're moving increasingly, like the distinction about whether we do broadcast or not is getting more and more blurred. And so I think we need to understand this stuff. And I think I don't like the idea of, well, it's not an IETF expertise, because it's going to be, whether it is or not at the moment, it's going to be. So I kind of support this effort. And I think there are actually interesting use cases on much smaller scale production. I mean, it would be really interesting to hear from Lorenzo, for example, whether any of this applies to something that Meet Echo is doing. because it seems to me that this is exactly the sort of thing that MeetEcho is already doing internally with its own proprietary protocols. And so it feels like something that we could easily, like, we do have, my point, I guess, is that we do have expertise, and I think we do have some requirements in this space already. We just don't necessarily see it that way.
Okay, Niels?
Maybe after hearing like some other folks here in this discussion, I am wondering if the just as another idea, if this is almost like another working group which is doing its work based on Wish and Web once Wish and Web are done, kind of like, I don't know, maybe that would actually fit better, or like an open question to the audience rather than like a concrete proposal.
Right, so that's a little bit where I was going. Like, if there's clearly some parts that look like it's WEP or WEP, WHEP, right? We should definitely do PRs to get them in WEP, because that's not done. That's being worked on. For everything else, it's not. I think it's probably not in scope, and so then we'd have to have that debate, and that's almost, unfortunately, like going back to dispatch to saying, like, hey, we have Wish and we have WEP, and now we want to do WISP. Right? Like, what do we decide to extend? Because my concern is that there's like 7 people in here. 3 are looking at the screens. Everyone else is checking their email. It feels like it's a pretty big decision to make with that number of people to adopt new work, essentially. Because I definitely want to see us get WHEP done first. So let's take that offline since we're basically out of time, unfortunately. But definitely for the parts that are, WHEP related, feel free to submit PRs. You can Sergio on the working group. We can work out what gets in and what doesn't, and then we can go from there. And we can try to circle back with you as chairs. Does that sound about right, Niels?
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I think that sounds good to me.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Again, apologies for being late tardy. Have a great day and the rest of the IETF.
Thank you.
All right. All right, let me get that message sent.
Sean, just for your reference, I did the note taking. I forgot to actually ask for note taking, but I wrote down some notes.
Awesome, sir. I'll take care of getting